Is Lauren Israelson, President of the United Natural Products Alliance, based here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today, I have the enormous pleasure of interviewing Bethany Davis of MegaFood. Bethany is one of the brightest stars in the dietary supplement natural foods world. I've had the great pleasure of knowing her for some years, and she continues to do groundbreaking work. Today, we're talking about Roundup. Yes, Roundup. The good news is what can be done to rid the world of this chemical. The exciting news is that Bethany and a number of others have been engaged in several groundbreaking projects. And I've asked her to come onto UNPA's website today, talk with us and explain what is going on with the Detox Project, the first ever way to really find out if Roundup is in your foods, what you can do about it, and how to be a part of the army of people that are growing to get rid of this nasty little chemical. With that, Bethany, we thank you so much for joining us, and take us away. Tell us where we are, where we can go, make us dream.
Hey, thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me. I represent MegaFood, and I'm the Director of Advocacy and Government Relations there. And for a really small to mid-sized company, we've always managed to be bold enough to fight a little outside of our weight. And we really took on glyphosate as an issue almost 4 years ago now. We've been working on having our supply chain clear of as many herbicide and pesticide residues as possible. We always had, for over 12 years now, we've had a program where we're testing for over 125 of the most commonly used herbicides and pesticides for the foods that we source. And with Roundup, glyphosate being the #1 herbicide used not just domestically, but globally, we wanted to draw people's attention to it more. And my personal story around Roundup is that I had a life, my life was put at risk from allergic reaction to it. And so I actually had about 10 years ago, my whole, I got Roundup near my face because it was in a park where I had gone to do a little workout. And so I've had my eye on this chemical for a really long time and really actively avoiding it. And the deeper into my agricultural work I got at MegaFood, the more I realized how prevalent it is and how hard it is to avoid in the supply chain. And so, we decided to sort of take it on as an issue. We love third-party certifications. They're a really clear, easy, crisp way for people to understand what your product represents, what's in there and what's not, and sort of what your values are as a company. And there was never a third-party certification for herbicides and pesticides before. And so I saw an early release, a soft launch of this glyphosate residue-free certified program. And we just jumped on it. And I mean, we'd already been massaging our supply chain. We already knew that we were in good shape. So it was actually a very simple, easy process for us to do all the required testing. And we were able to launch our entire line as glyphosate residue-free certified. I want to say it was about 2.5 years ago. Maybe it was 3 years ago now. And so we were thrilled to be able to put that on there. And we had this interesting problem where if you say Roundup, people tend to know what you're talking about. And if you say glyphosate, people have less knowledge of what you're talking about. And so we had stickers on our products and people are just like Googling and going, oh, wait a minute, wow, this is something I really need to care about. And the reason that MegaFood cares about it so much is because we care about soil health and we care about regenerative agriculture. And we care about the fact that our soil, our topsoil globally is dying because of our farming practices and methods. We're literally extracting life, microbial, fungal, and otherwise from the soil. And part of that formula, part of the system that's responsible for this is a chemical, agriculture, industrial system. And so for reasons of our personal health, and mine specifically, the health of our consumers and their families, and really for the globe, this is an issue that was big enough for us to kind of throw all of our weight behind. So we both invested in the certification, we invested in education for people to understand why this is an issue we're standing behind, and we also developed a campaign to compel the EPA to remove glyphosate as a product that can be used in the desiccation process, basically drying out crops because the residues are so high. And so we've been on that journey for several years now, and I have to say we've been pretty successful. We compelled the EPA to open up a open comment period, and there was thousands of comments submitted, and we got over 100,000 signatures on a petition that were submitted during that comment period in support of our legal petition. And we've raised a lot of awareness about glyphosate, and partnering with the Detox Project has been great. Awareness of the certification is growing really fast, like maybe even faster than the non-GMO project grew at first. And so people are starting to pull together all the pieces, and so much around Roundup and glyphosate being in the news because of lawsuits around lymphoma for people who are handling it closely. It's sort of a perfect storm for awareness on this issue. And yeah, we're happy to be part of that conversation.
It's wonderful work you're doing, Bethany, as always, and congratulations to MegaFood for being one of the early adopters, which is one of the hallmarks of MegaFood. It has always been a progressive company that leads the way. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings of the Detox Project. Who's behind it, and what was the motivation there? And then, if you will, tell us a bit about what consumers can do in terms of engagement. I also understand it's possible to do some self-testing so you can find out how much glyphosate you may have in your own body. That's a big deal. So if you could walk those 2 points through with us, we'd be grateful, and then we'll let you go to get back to fighting the good cause.
Great. The Detox Project was started by Henry Rollins. He's a PhD researcher who has been interested in GMO agriculture and the associated pesticides and herbicides that are used with it for some time. So for those that don't know, a lot of the GMO crops that we use widely all over the US, not so much for food, but for feed and for fuel, and in some cases like for highly produced ingredients, but we do grow a lot of it, and we certainly feed a lot of feedlot animals with it. And what they've essentially done is created a product, a seed that won't get killed by a given herbicide. So they can just spray a ton of this one herbicide and you won't have weed problems, is the idea. And so a lot of this herbicide is used, a lot. It's the #1 herbicide used globally, and it's to a point now where we can find it everywhere. We have it in our hair, in our urine, and in mother's breast milk. It's in our blood, it's in water, it's in the rain. So the degree to which we've been using this is really high. And so testing for it is a great way to, one, keep yourself safe, and two, to raise awareness of how ubiquitous this chemical is at this point. And hopefully more information about its presence will help us reconsider our reliance and heavy use of it. But the Detox Project was born from Henry, and he simply provided a certification program where, to the highest level of sensitivity available, there's all different food matrices. And so you have to have no glyphosate residue, and the definition of no depends on how specific the test can work in your matrix, but typically it's never any more than 20 parts per million. And so, he launched a program and worked with a couple of laboratories to verify their testing process, and now works with lots of different companies testing to make sure that every lot of product, it's not like you certify your product one time and hope that works out for the next 5 years. It's a pretty rigorous standard. So we certify every finished lot of product that we make at MegaFood to the glyphosate residue-free standard, which means that no residue is found. And yes, it can be limiting. And yes, we still think it's important enough to do that. So he launched it about almost 4 years ago, and he essentially talked to some of his friends and colleagues and supporters in the industry, and there was a soft launch from influencers. So Leah Saghetti from Mamavation is a friend of mine on Facebook, and I saw her teasing that a new glyphosate certification was coming. So I'm pretty sure I was probably one of the first people to notice that this was happening, and we just jumped right on it. And yeah, they're also looking to offer testing. They're working with all these companies that are doing this type of testing, and so they're wanting consumers to be able to have access as well. So actually, Henry's given me some kits just for testing here, but you can test your urine, you can test your hair, you can test your water, and the specificity and sensitivity of glyphosate residue testing is getting better all of the time. Like every year we're that much better, and you can get more and more and more specific and more sensitive, which is great because we really need data about where it is and where it isn't to understand its impact on our ecosystem, on the health of our bodies, and specifically on our soil. So glyphosate is a broad spectrum antibiotic. I mean, that's what it's patented as, is a broad spectrum antibiotic, and also a mineral chelator. That's how it works in the soil. It binds to minerals. And the unfortunate results of that are it really affects probiotics and flora that's both in the soil. Soil has a microbiome, just like our bodies have a microbiome. And so we're eating broad spectrum antibiotics in our food. And so, you know, being in the supplement industry, you know what kind of consequences that can have if you're literally taking it in every single day. And it's the same for our soil. So testing and awareness are two of our main areas of focus, and then advocacy around the issue is another area of focus. And but the primary thing MegaFood wants to do is provide clean products for our consumers. And so that's why we stepped up to the plate on this one.
Well, thank you for that. We're almost out of time, and perhaps we can get you back and talk about some of the new technologies to deal with weeds. We still have weeds in our gardens and parks and whatnot. So your experience where you ran into it, unfortunately, in a park, we still have to take care of these things. I understand there's a couple of new safe and natural approaches. I would love to learn about that, share that with our viewers, so that we're not only describing a problem, we're giving them a real solution on several levels. So this is, in my mind, one of the most exciting things that's come into our industry in quite a long time, I must say. As a kid, I was a farm boy. I used to hold the flag for the sprayer, and at that time it was 2,4-D. So I have a real interest in, like you, understanding what I've absorbed over the years, and I think back on my grandfather's untimely early death, when he was the guy that would not let me get near the big 55-gallon drums of 2,4-D that would go into the sprayer tanks and the little tractors that he would then drive all over. And I could tell he knew this was dangerous, and he didn't want me anywhere near it, except on those occasions when we had a plane spraying. And there I was standing, holding the flag with these planes at about 10 feet above ground level. And so I look back on that and think, what have I done to myself? And like you, I have a personal and emotional connection to this issue.
Yeah.
And hoping that our kids don't have to deal with this.
Tightness in my chest thinking about you holding those 2,4-D sprayers when you're a kid.
Yeah, and I still have such a distinct memory of the smell of both Roundup and 2,4-D and some of these really nasty chemicals. So this is such an important project for the health of the planet, for our families. Thank you, Bethany, as always. And
you're welcome.
We'll have you back soon to give us an update, and you can count on UNPA support for this hugely important project.
I really appreciate that. And for anyone who wants more information and kind of a deep dive, there's a stunningly beautiful, just gorgeously edited documentary called Dreaming of a Vetter World, Vetter. It's about David Vetter, a farmer in the Midwest. And it goes deep on this whole story. And we were able to support that film. It's available on Vimeo for anyone that wants to watch it.
Thank you, Bethany. We'll grab the film, we'll tie that into the interview and spread the word. So thank you, Bethany. Stay well. Talk to you soon.
Me too. Bye-bye.
Bye.